at 2:00
at PANGEA.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to If These Walls Could Talk. I'm Wendy Stuart.
And I am Tym Moss.
And we're so happy that you are taking the time to join us on this gorgeous, gorgeous day.
Absolutely.
How was your week, Tim?
Oh, my God. It started off with a colonoscopy.
Oh, God. What's up with that?
That is my life right now.
No, but don't you love the nice thing about a colonoscopy, if you can say there's a nice thing, when they give you that twilight sleep, it's the only time I'm relaxed in my entire life, right? They knock you out.
Well, this time I woke up because I had several calls. I had work I had to do that afternoon. Yes, it was Monday afternoon. And so I guess I was thinking about it because they knocked me out. And the next I woke up going, I'm working. Okay, I'm working. I'm making calls. And then I look around and I'm in the recovery room. Well, the time before when I had one was even better because when they were wheeling me down the hall, I was joking around with the anesthesiologist and all of that. And he was about to inject the drug.
You out.
And he says, oh, yeah, this is the same stuff that Michael Jackson used. And I said, oh, that's the good stuff. And I go, hee hee. And I look around and I'm in the recovery room. I woke up going, hee hee.
But you didn't get that. You didn't get the good stuff this time, right? This was the
other. This still worked.
It still worked, yeah.
But anyway, that was, yeah. And
I'm happy for you, Tim.
Well, thanks. Happy I finally got some.
I'm happy you got, right. I'm happy you got some of it. Really.
How was your week?
So God, what a crazy week. Friday, I did an independent film where this was really a stretch as a character. I had to play an eccentric next door neighbor who was in love with her cat.
Oh my God.
What a stretch. I don't know why anyone would cast me for anything eccentric. And then one of the coolest, the highlights I would say of my week was Sunday was the Imperial Court Victory Brunch. For those of you that do know the Imperial Court, you know they do tons of charity. Absolutely. And they're based on, for lack of a better concept, I would say like the royalty system. We've got monarchs, we've got emperors, we've got empresses. I am Lady Wendy Darling. But we were honoring Rhonda, who is our Sugar Be Real, and she's the Empress. She's wonderful. Yeah. And all of us, we were all her ladies in waiting. Girl, I'm always waiting for something. But she picked out these red dresses with enormous like roses on them. Oh. And they're totally fabulous. I'll wear it on the show one day. It's totally.
I saw the pictures. They are. It's gorgeous.
And it suited my personality too. For the eccentric cat lady. So there you go. It all comes together. So, oh my God.
But speaking of charities.
Speaking of charity, right? We love charity. We have an extraordinary guest today.
Absolutely.
Our guest today does so much philanthropy for cancer, for people that have been hurt through the pandemic. He is a self-made entrepreneur, real estate background, but always had...
produces these amazing events.
He does. If you've ever been to one of his mega events, they're wonderful. He is an incredible host. He makes everyone feel great. He discovers new music people. I can't say enough about the one, the only Soho Johnny.
Yay!
Woo-hoo!
Wow, what a build up. I don't know who this is, but anyway, thank you so much for having me on the show. Both of you, Tim and Wendy, how are you?
Oh, wonderful. How are you? How are you doing?
Okay, pretty good. It's an interesting journey as we overcome hurdles and obstacles, and that's the ethics of the human spirit, right? We overcome, we support each other, and we lift each other, and we go forward in what life has to offer. It's not meant to be paradise. We all know that, but we, with the right frame of mind and understanding that life is a blessing and a gift, which I say always that kind of sets my moral compass every morning when I'm blessed to be able to wake up.
But that's what's so about you, Johnny. You have a moral compass, and it comes through in all the work you do. This, years since the pandemic has been like for you, because you're on kind of everyone knows mega events. How have you had to transition?
Yeah.
I didn't hear you. I'm sorry, Wendy.
How have you? As a big event, trying to do this during the pandemic when nothing was live.
Well, the pandemic affected all of us in some manner, shape, or form. my most devout experience is share with the audience. I lost my mom to COVID last year, and I had this foundation because I've been doing charity work for years, and I had, I would always support the American Cancer Society with events and everything. And I said, let me take it a step up rather than just raising money and cutting a check. I set up this foundation called Let Me Help Inc. LetMeHelpInc.org is the website. And I had it on the shelf, and when I lost my mom in my morning, I said, just like I did for my dad 26 years ago, who I lost to cancer, I said, let me try and step up my game a little bit. And because a foundation gives you the ability to give to different causes, okay, not just one charity. American Cancer Society, very important for cancer, but you pigeonhole for that. The foundation could pivot to different ones and different events, or it could give to divide the proceeds that are raised for several events. And so, part of my secret sauce in entertainment is, the passion of music and the umbilical cord of connection with the crowds and putting smiles on people's faces and redefining what I've always heard since I was a little kid. When you give is when you really receive. It had a new definition when I started tying myself to charity years ago. So my most devout answer to that top of list, of course, I'm losing my mom to COVID. And I wanted to step up my game a little bit because, in her name and everyone else's name that's been affected or lost somebody or that's suffering, or even economic effects of so many people and what's happened here. And there's so many good causes out there. This is the most imminent one because none of us lived through a pandemic before. Well, there may be a few blessed people that are 100 years old for the Spanish flu. And I knew one of them. I saw a video on TV. But that's my personal experience. So I wanted to convert that energy in that morning, because it's a form of energy, and try to do something positive in my mom's name and everyone else's name. As you know, I did that show, and I was so blessed in November, and I had people support me, such as beautiful people as yourself, and let me help.
Could you share with our audience that you had on that show?
Well, I don't deserve the credit, okay? I'm the, for those of us that know Mack trucks, there's that little bulldog symbol figure that's on the engine in front that drives. All the horsepower is people such as yourselves, and my dream team, John Valesco, Eileen Shapiro, Jimmy Starr, all these people that with their help and their blessing helped me source artists from all over the world that allowed shout outs, or they did a performance, or they allowed some footage of themselves to promote and raise money for several different causes, okay? And I had a co-producer it was a 6-hour virtual event. We had to do it virtual, obviously. And 1 hour was co-produced by Andrew Cole, who's an artist in his own right. And he was involved with the anti-bullying mandate, hashtag I am no joke. And we also did something for COVID, for I think it's Meals on Wheels, Department of Aging in Yonkers, New York, and also raised money for prostate cancer. And we had people from all over. I mean, I have a list here. I can't mention all their names because the list goes on. But, Patrick Stewart, Ozzy and Sharon Osbourne, Cedric the Entertainer, Fred Schneider, B-52s, Ian Guerin, Ike Avelli, Matt Badensky, Ray DeTone, Tommy James. We know him. Remember Tommy James and the Shandell? Wonderful. Yes. Of course, Animazex, which are signed with us, and they're just kicking butt. And Animazex, with the suggestion of my mentor, John Valesco, we tied them with, they're great guys, Mike Valesco, Rudy, and the whole crew.
Been on our show with guy.
Yeah, and we tied them with a blind children's camp in Camp Marcella that they're going to be forming and raising money to let me help for them coming up. So that's an exciting project coming to, and they're doing very, very well. It just came out with their rendition of Strawberry Fields, and they're doing well all over the world. It was fantastic in Japan, and we helped bring them to the States. Great guys and so talented. Animazex. Kim Sledge, Mickey Burns, we all know profiles to show Mickey Burns talk show host, and the list goes on and on and on. April Gabrielle, of course, Jimmy Starr, people such as yourself, Sari Shore, and Steve Perkins, my buddy Scott Page from Pink Floyd, and the list goes on. But the thing is, everybody gave of their time willingly and out of love and support, and we raised some nice money. We gave to some good causes, And those are the type of things that for me personally puts winds in my sails. Of course, yes, there's part for the business. Yes, I'm a producer. I do shows and doing a little acting. I helped just recently co-produce a movie that's going to be released soon. Actually, maybe two. And kind of all these.
On the loop with that.
Yes, yes. Well, I can't give too much away right now, obviously, because it's not released yet, but it's going to be Skelly. One is going to be a children's movie, and one is, and I may even have a little tiny cameo part there. See? And another one that's in the works. Some of these things may not pan up, but they're all in the works now. With actually a horror movie, believe it or not, which is kind of
Johnny,
but listen, go ahead, Wendy. I'm sorry.
Are you so aware of the suffering of others? Were you raised very empathetic around what you want to get back so bad?
That's an excellent question, and I can only speak to that when you reflect upon your prior life. And I go back to when I was a kid, and I had great parents independently, but they would buck heads all the time. So and whatever issues they had. But I was a nervous kid. I was a nervous, stuttering kid, and I was an only child. I have a younger brother, but he came years later.
But you stuttered.
Yeah, I was a nervous kid, and I manifested that energy as a nervous kid just by making people laugh. Even when I was in grammar school, I used to get in trouble, and I used to bring these practical jokes into grammar school. And back then, I went to a parochial school, and we're talking back in the '60s, guys, when they didn't spare the rod back in those days.
Yeah,
and, I would get in trouble, but I would bring these practical jokes in, like a snake coming out of a cigar and a little box that would laugh in the back of the room, and I'd get detention, whatever. But the teachers or the sisters, whoever they were, they would contain their own laughter, And I look back in those days, and then, then my parents had a garage when we lived in an apartment called in the Boogie Down Bronx, the greatest melting pot, probably one of the greatest melting pots in the world, the Boogie Down Bronx in New York. Oh, really? That's wonderful. And I'm very thankful for that because, when you live in like a major melting pot, you get to experience people from all different backgrounds and diversities and cultures working together. And for me, that was like, it doesn't matter who you are, what you are. I mean, the house of Soho Johnny, as I call this, welcome to anybody, as long as you're not there to hurt anyone else, okay? There's no judgment, there's no anything. Just come on in and enjoy the spirit and passion of music and entertainment, enjoy what life has to offer, the joy of being alive and being able to share that mirth. And, so to answer your question, I think it stems from that because I'm still that nervous, stuttering kid inside in a sense. And of course, I became articulate. I said, well, I'll do something about it eventually as I got older. But I think that's part of it. And I think it just, and as things happen to me in life, some of the greatest achievements of the greatest artists in history or the greatest sculptors or painters are usually not born of the greatest experience they have. Yes, some of the greatest experience.
Completely agree.
But I would dare say that even the greater achievements that they have is when they experience something traumatic, or something very difficult in life, or a loss of a loved one, or a breakup of a relationship, or some other tragedy. And when you experience that, or you could be handicapped. I mean, look at these people like that are blind that could still produce and still give so much back and create.
Look at Stephen Hawking, right? In a wheelchair, he had every kind of apparatus, and look at how much he to the world.
Yes, very, very, and he was diligent and dedicated to the day he was raised, and well, I shouldn't say raised, the day that he passed, but and it's just people, listen, the blind camp, the Camp Marcella, we may reach out to, these are blind kids, right? So we may reach out to, we'll see, maybe like, wouldn't it be great to have someone like a Stevie Wonder, Andre Bocelli, that are up there performing, and what role models they are, that they're blind themselves and they're giving back. And you think of Ray Charles, all these people, and who we could have, and there's others that are kind of on the list. So we don't know who we'll get to work in tandem with anime. So it's just really. And here's the other element, because that's a great question. It's a good question. I think, for some reason, I am probably, and I hate to judge other people and say this. I can only look at other people from the outside. When you look on the outside, you never know someone's purgatory, unless you really get close to them, right?
Right.
You know, for me, I think I'm very empathetic, as you said before. I find myself, if somebody gets hurt around me, whatever the case may be, I can't help I try to have an olive branch and try to smooth it over. I try business when you're brought up in your business 9 to 5 and everything, we're cookie cutter, go get a job, be successful. Sometimes it's dog eat dog, but I can't just leave it at that. It has to be kind of that, that sense of humanity. Okay. I mean, Mandate for Humanity, like that comic book that started off as a novelty that I came out with, that is like getting all this notoriety and publicity now.
That's
an ironic situation.
Mandate for Humanity.
I love it. Personally, I have a theory. I think that you're growing up in the Bronx, where you are exposed to a lot of different cultures. Your consciousness, you became aware of injustices in different groups. And I think that probably helped to form this empathetic consciousness that you have developed to this day.
Yeah, I mean, I was always that easygoing guy. I was always the guy like, let's call John, see where the party is. Okay, I was like the party goer, and it was always, and my parents eventually, when they moved out of that apartment in Parkchester in the Bronx.
Oh my God, Parkchester! I took my driver's
Actually, before that, MetLife built those two sister gigantic apartment complexes. They built the Stuyvesant Town, Peter Cooper Village in Manhattan, which is where we originally lived when I was really young, and only maybe second, third grade, whatever. And then I remember that. Then we moved to Parkchester, and we lived there for years. And eventually, my parents got a house in the Bronx, and it was a garage in the back. And because I kind of built up this reputation of being somewhat popular, and my friends and kids around the neighborhood would come to this garage in the back, and I would play music and entertain them with rock music, rock. And I kind of loved that. So that was like, the seed of that nervousness inside me as a kid, and then manifesting it with music. My late mom, I think, gave me the gift of music, playing all different music, Tom Jones in the 60s in my household. And my dad, who I was blessed with, 3 generations going back in Soho, having a business, and poor immigrants like so many of us in our lineage, our lineage, I should say, in Soho. Why Soho Johnny was my nickname. I called the entertainment company on SohoJohnny.com. To my dad, I owe, he lived through the Depression, very humble guy.
Yeah, my mom too.
And anybody he dealt with, he had that. I just hope I'm half the man he was, because, my sense of humility and humanity, I think a lot of it stems from just being his son.
Tim, to acknowledge what you children and parents. My mother was. She constantly talked about gambling on the corner, and my own mother nightclubs at 17 years old. You come from a background. There's a lot of people that come from any of the boroughs who were exposed to people who didn't have, they are reality as people born with this in their mouth. It's just different.
It's interesting, and when you have that in your entourage and everything, it always puts me in check with what I think is the most, the most devout reality that you can live in. Because, especially when you deal with loss, if there's anything that defines our life, nothing defines it more than experience of death, because we know it's finite. We know that it's valuable, and time is valuable. So for me, that is something that's in everything I do, and I manifest anything that shows that I'm producing, or acting, or movies, or, and it's not like, but it's just a big part of me. And it's very, very important. And I think, these are the things that I believe will lift us when it's our time.
Well, now, I want to comment parents' death at this moment. But we're getting a lot of comments about and we tried to run it before, and unfortunately we're unable to. So I just want to apologize for the echo that's happening. But I can relate. You lost your father in the 90s to cancer. I lost my mother in the 90s to cancer, to colon cancer. Wow. And then you unfortunately lost your mother last year to COVID. And one of the most heart-wrenching things for me during my mother's death was the helplessness. You're right there, right by their side, and there's not a damn thing you can do about it. And you had to experience that twice, because I'm sure with COVID, you were probably not even able to go visit her or see her. Right. How horrible.
Awful.
I was blessed that one of the healthcare workers did a Zoom literally a few days before she was going. And she had the mask on. She couldn't articulate or talk to me, but I was able to communicate with her. And of course, I was saying, Mom, we'll get by this, whatever. And, you know, I guess I could have busted through there and went to see her in the hospital, but, you know, it was all COVID patients and they advised. And, you know, listen, it's, as I say, death defines life. And, you know, it speaks to our faith. It speaks to the caliber of beings that we are. And everything has got to be put here. Everything has a place. But the most fundamental thing is what we have inside. That's our beliefs and what we are inside and how we connect and share with other people. Because this is, you know, at the end of the day, what's really the most relevant? The true riches we carry, the true riches. Of course, it's not money. It's not material things. Okay. The true riches is, you know, when I go, when it's my time, then I want, you know, I want to have that feeling that, you know, there's people that really cared about me and that I touched other people, because that's the currency. That's the true currency of life. That's my belief. And I think that's, you know, that's what makes you a rich person when it really counts. And the truest definition of the word.
Johnny, I'm curious. You're so generous in spirit, generous in heart, aware of other people. And you are one person that always has a smile on your face. Do you find, I'm going to ask this question, do you find when you're like that, there are many people that will try and take advantage of that? And how do you deal with it? Okay, I always ask the question, how do you deal with it, Soho Johnny?
Well, listen, I mean, you kind of somewhat, you know, when it comes to relationships and people that you deal with, I think it's important to, you know, always listen to your gut, that gut feeling you have about somebody, where they're really coming from, because sometimes it's easy to misread somebody too. You know, what's their agenda, what they're all about, are they sincere? So, you know, again, I've been blessed that I've been kind of organically, I call myself the accidental tourist of my life, but I didn't set off to be involved in entertainment at all in my life. I was just a guy behind a desk and a humble, my dad had a trucking business, something that started with my grandfather in Soho. But, you know, I think, you know, you kind of go with your gut. And of course, everything's got to make sense, but, you know, you try to deal with people that kind of share the same ethics. It's impossible to do it with everybody because you have to do business and deal with people, and you know, that's just how it works. But I think you kind of go with your gut. And maybe my empathy is somewhat of an asset when it comes to that. So yes, there's always people that may want to take advantage or this or money, whatever. And you know, I have some close people that tell me, John, you need to know how to say no, okay? and you know, it's probably true, you know, but I think, you know, I kind of you know, it's a calculated thing, and it depends on what, you know, what is being exchanged and everything. And if it's like, if somebody's going to get help, is help to something, and it's something that's pretty mundane, you know, everybody has different levels of what's important, okay? And I'll measure all those things out. But at the end of the day, the final thing, you want to have that feeling inside. Because a lot of times I like to think that I'm pretty much a good judge of character. I can't always be accurate because we're not perfect and we can't read minds. But I think to answer that question, yes, yeah, I'm a little bit protective, but I'm always open-minded. Okay, and I think it's a mistake never to always keep your mind open to learn and to understand, especially what someone else has to say.
So I want to talk about your comic book because Mandate for Humanity, you had an opening in Red Bank, right? New Jersey, book signing and everything there. Let's talk about the characters in that comic book. Can you tell our audience who the characters were?
Well, a few friends of mine, and of course, people that collaborate with is our mutual friend and the beautiful Eileen Shapiro helped me put it together, and of course, my buddies. Well, let me tell you a little bit about the premise of the book for the listeners that don't know. And the irony, and here's the irony about the comic book. The plot is about a world that's kind of depressed and kind of downtrodden. It's almost and there's economic hardship, and it's just like what happened to this world. But those concepts came up before the pandemic.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
So it was kind of like kismet that here we had this comic book coming out right at the advent last year of this pandemic. So Soho Johnny is my alter ego, and I'm hanging out with a couple of my buddies, and their names there. My friend Frank Cadero and Anthony Leota. It's people that I grew up with, and we're friends. And I'm just going through and I'm saying, the world is so much like everyone's walking around like a sad sack. And so I get inspired, and I get these kind of magical powers from three people. Okay, one is my buddy Scott Page. We all know him from Pink Floyd, and another one is I call him my Mr. Magnificent, Monty Rock III, who is he was the DJ in Saturday Night Fever, Senior Statements, and in the whole disco era, Senior Statesman, I should say, and Howard Bloom, a fantastic writer and publicist. And those three of them bestow different powers on me. And I'm an old comic book guy anyway.
Wow.
Okay, I'm an old Marvel and DC. I was collecting in the '60s. I was collecting back issues of Spider-Man and buying them. I wish I had my collection. I lost it. And that's another story. But I think and there's one character that kind of, and it wasn't premeditated. I think it's a DC character called Shazam. It's like a Superman, but it's about this young boy, Billy Batson, okay, who walks into a cave, and all these mythical gods see him, and they bestow different powers on him, and he turns into this big guy with a red outfit called Shazam, like maybe Athena for the goddess for wisdom, and Mercury, the god for speed, and Hercules maybe. I may be getting the Greek or Norse mythologies mixed up. I don't remember exactly. but with and for the strength. And so, it's funny here. Billy Batson is like insecure kind of kid. I kind of think, well, I was stuttering and insecure, but that wasn't where it came from. I don't think that's where it came from. But when we talk about it ends a comic book, and I think it's kind of resonates a little bit like that. Okay, Shazam, doing good. So I'm this Soho Johnny guy, and I try to raise, I try to put magic on people, and it raises their spirits, and music. Joy comes back a little bit around, like the Pied Piper of mirth and joy, okay, which really is, part of what I tried to accomplish in everything that I do with Soho Johnny.
I was just going to say, that's pretty accurate, actually.
So when this whole pandemic first hit, I was like completely blindsided. I heard this was coming, but like you, I'm out in the entertainment world, always supporting Tim too. Mm-hmm. We're always supporting our friends. And night after night after night, I was at a different club that week when we were hearing all of this. Mm-hmm. And then we started to hear like that Monday, that Thursday, they were going to shut New York down. And I was still out there because they were talking about this curve that was coming. Mm-hmm. But none of us really knew anything.
Right.
So when this thing hit, I have to tell you, I was blindsided. And a week after I had COVID, my whole family did. And I'm still carrying a lot of that mistrust with me, not just what happened here in the world. Do you ever say to yourself, how could this have happened in the world?
Well, listen, there's a lot of, I hate to use the word conspiracy theories, whether it was invented in a lab or not. They say not. But listen, we have to admit it's a very virulent strain or disease, different strains of disease that seems to have all these things that could happen to you, even after effects we hear of. So I think, was it, it in a way, you want to understand the science. And I think the glass half full, which is the type of guy I am, is that now medical tech all over the world is working on it every single day.
Yeah.
So the worst is behind us, okay? And with all the talks of the strains and this double strain, we're always reading about something because the internet connects us all instantaneously, right? Medical tech is like one step behind it now. So maybe we'll have inoculations every 6 months or whatever. But I think, the spirit, the true ethics of humanity will always be there. And it's already starting now. I mean, I have a real estate company still in down in Soho, PEP Real Estate, PEPrealestate.com. And part of what I was doing before this in my business is I'm finding, for retailers spaces or offices spaces, and I'll create experiential spaces for them as well. And I advise, because the old model of having just a sneaker store doesn't work as much. You have to have experience, bring people in, have a cafe, element of entertainment. So that was another thing that kind of tied into this, to the emergence of what Soho Johnny has become. And it still is becoming, because it still has a lot of different legs that are happening now. We're going to be having a radio station coming soon, and a venue that we're negotiating for bricks and mortar. We're already at bricks and mortars in Soho, but we have something else downtown in the city, very exciting, that we may be announcing soon. And life is about the journey, and you have to have the right glasses, prism of glasses to see it. Okay, you could put 3 people in the room and put a painting up, and they all have different impressions.
Right.
Okay?
That's so true.
You have to have the right prism of glasses to be able to see the sensitivity of it. And if you have that frame of mind, your experience and what you share with other people when you're coming from that position in yourself, you improve their state of mind a little bit too. Remember to love yourself, but not in a narcissistic way.
Yeah.
Accept yourself and forgive yourself, because none of us are perfect. And move on and go forward. And when you have that working inside you, you can connect more effectively with other people. And it doesn't matter what you do. You don't have to be in entertainment. We're all role models to each other. It doesn't matter. You can have practically nothing. If you put a smile on someone's face one day, or crack the joke, or improve their mood a little bit, that's a little bit of a ripple. And if we all do that, it creates a tidal wave of love and good faith.
Absolutely, absolutely.
We agree. So you're
now. I just wanted to say that you're watching If These Walls Could Talk with your hosts Wendy Stuart and Tym Moss, and our incredible guest today, Mr. Soho Johnny. Yay! And we're shooting this from PANGEA down in the East Village, and down below you'll see a GoFundMe, because all the restaurants are struggling, and we've tried to shed some light on PANGEA here, because they have been so supportive of the artists scene downtown
continually.
And so now it's time for us artists to be supportive of them.
Absolutely.
So if you can, drop a couple dollars to the GoFundMe for PANGEA. Yeah. We would appreciate it.
Or stop in. They are open in the evening. They have
and they're starting to have some music on certain nights.
Yeah, live music, and that's only going to be more of that going forward. So come and support a restaurant that supports the artists in New York. Which perfect lead in to what I wanted to ask you next. You're the perfect person to answer this question, or at least give your opinion. Tim and I hear all the time, New York is dead. The stores are all out of business. We've been cranking it out throughout the entire pandemic. I never stopped. After the shutdown, like in April, I was digging clients out of holes, doing whatever I could. And so were you. We've continued to work, and we've continued to put our artistic input into our city. My question for you is, how do you address people that say, real estate's terrible, everything's going out of business, New York will never be what it was? I want to hear Soho Johnny's opinion on it.
Another great question. Well, as I said, PEPrealestate.com, that's a platform of different properties that we own or manage, and a lot of them in Soho and West Village. So we're kind of like the heartbeat in those areas, okay? Because we've been there for so long. And we have this last solid 6 weeks now have a major uptick of interest, of people looking to do deals. That's a big part of my day, and people are getting more encouraged. Prices are lower, of course, there's more expectations. You have to give back to the tenant, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. As ironic as this may say, especially like if you're a landlord or anything, you want prices to be lower, because you want to have the stability that everybody's eating and everybody's making a living. And then, who wants to have somebody not be able to pay their rent? no matter how good or bad the reason is, you want everything to run. So we want a stable environment. We want a stable economy for the best, so that everybody could go on and not have this craziness. So what had happened to all of us in an economic version of it because of the pandemic, who would have expected, the normal John Q public didn't expect the consequences down the line, how far-fetched it, how long-stretched it would be, how much we really would economize. The food chain, people were worried about buying toilet paper, okay? But all of that is past us. We've got a grasp on it. I'm very, very, and real estate is coming back. It's not going to be what it was before, but it's going to be a little bit less. And I think it's going to be more of a common equilibrium, lower prices. But, at the end of the day, the deals are really, I look at it more of a partnership. It's not more of like who's a landlord, who's a tenant. No, it's a partnership at the end of the day. Okay. And that's why I look to try to create situations where, you can kind of work together. And with the entertainment platform, of course, that comes in handy too, and I might be able to help. But at the end of the day, it's important to have the psychology of your approach when you go into a negotiation, that you have that. So it's not back yet. Of course, there's a lot of vacancies where it's a big mountain to climb. But now, especially in the good areas, like in the city and everything, the city got such a black eye. But I'm a firm believer in Manhattan, firm believer like in my neighborhoods in Soho, that it'll come back gradually. Just like we got over 9/11. Of course, 9/11 was just a localized one spot in one neighborhood, right? And, it was depressed for a while, but things come back. And people always look to this. It'll always be a tourist destination, international tourist destination. Once everybody starts feeling more comfortable and can travel, which is happening imminently.
Absolutely. And personally, I'm quite excited actually about the potential after what's waiting on the other side of this, because there's going to have to be a shift, because a lot of the businesses that were paying these ridiculously high prices in Times Square and around the city have discovered that their employees can work from home now. So they might not need the actual spaces, the office spaces. So there's going to be a whole shift around, and also I think there's going to be a creative explosion.
Yes.
An explosion of creativity, because all the creatives have been pent up and held up, and it's going to be like the 1920s, in my opinion. Where it's just going to be party time, off the chain. We made it through. Let's have a good time. Let's make up for lost time and enjoy ourselves.
That is. You're right on, Tim. You're right. You're right on the pulse. I agree with you. And I'm seeing that both on the entertainment side, and like we're talking about real estate. I mean, the ones that are going to feel it the most are the high-rise office buildings, generic office spaces. But some of like the more humble areas, like the small little buildings, those are the ones that are going to get more of it. Especially downtown became more popular than uptown over the last 10 years for some reason, anyhow. And it's a lot of technology and everything coming in there. But as far as the entertainment, oh yes, I'm involved with certain things, and there's such a pent-up demand for it. And slowly but surely, I mean, of course, there's the laws that you can only have so many people, and I'm doing a couple of things. I'm going to have some large tents that I'm working on now.
Please invite us. I'll save the date. Just tell me when it is. I'm freaking desperate. I need to be out there.
And I'm telling you, I think the last time I saw you in person was at the Christmas party that you threw. Oh my God. That was so off the hook. That was so much fun. Well, actually, firstly, I just want to say that Ikevelli is on the line, and he wanted to say how he loves Soho Johnny. So,
that's so great.
And there are some other comments, but yeah, I mean, at that party you had Kim Sledge from Sister Sledge. I'm trying. It was an endless list of Leon. You had Hanson from Hungry for Your Love, and Strafe, and just, I mean, it was amazing. You've got an incredible list of performers that are at your fingertips, and including Ozzy Osbourne, which I want to hear a little about. Ozzy off the record. Like how is he in real life?
Yeah, I do too. But I need to know when this is. So does Tim.
Yes, this
because
party.
I'm putting it in my calendar as soon as the show's over.
Well, we don't have a date yet announced. But you'll be definitely one of the first to know, and it'd be my pleasure and blessed to have you.
So
We'll have a great time.
what is Ozzy Osbourne like in real life? Is he the person that we've seen when he was doing his show or performances? Is that who he is?
Well, he allowed footage through I think Andrew Cole, who co-produced that part of the show, and I actually met him at a show once, and he was talking to a group of us. And what I like about him, like he was talking about anti-bullying, and that's part of him and Sharon, but is that he's very, very down to earth, and he talked about his struggle with, I guess alcohol, and how he had overcome it in his life, like so many of these great artists. And he shared that, with a group of us. I forget which. I think it was a show out in Long Island that I was backstage with a group of us speaking to him, and he was just talking to us, and he was very, very down to earth, and it was wonderful, wonderful to see that. I mean, when artists reveal their problems, okay, it does, of course they're great, they're talented, celebrity, but I think to me that gives them another elevation of celebrity status, because they're making a difference. Because it's showing, because everybody, no matter, there's Superman, okay, which was he had super strength and all these things, but remember with the great Stan Lee. Created Spider-Man, okay? And Spider-Man was just a regular person that was shy around women, and that he was struggling in high school, and he was just a regular guy. So people resonate with that, because at the end of the day, that's the truth anyhow. We become superheroes because of what we have inside.
Oh, that's and people always want to be able to be inspired by other people. The reason we call the show "If These Walls Could Talk" is, we want the honesty and what a person went through. Too often, and this in the entertainment world, we're all sold a fantasy. I mean, every now and then when I'm at the gym, the Kardashians come on, and it's like, we know it's not real life, but yet people tune into this fakeness. And I think between that and Instagram and all of that, you're taught to achieve something that is unachievable, and at the end of the day makes you feel less about yourself. To hear an incredible musician, talk about a vulnerable period in their life, when Andrew Cole talked about being bullying, and why he does No Joke, it really is something that resonates within all of us. You say to yourself, they're human the same way I am. Very important.
And very, very true.
Do we have some?
Well, I have, let me see, Teresa Sabin.
Hi,
she says,
Teresa!
have an awesome day, everyone. Prince Fleet Easton, my buddy, he says hello from Palm Springs.
Palm Springs, I hate you.
Icavelli says, total wave of love. And says hello to everyone. Yes. But so do you have any other projects or anything else coming up?
I have a litany of them. Let me think about that. I have one very exciting one, being that we're talking about philanthropy, is I'm collaborating with a group that have invited me in to do something that I probably would compare to another kind of like Live Aid or We Are the World.
Wow.
And we have connections with all over the world, everywhere from China to everywhere, collaborating, coming together with different artists to create awareness, because we all recognize, as you just said before, Tim, the need to elevate spirits, to bring joy and mirth back, and to bring optimism back.
Absolutely.
Okay? It's part of how we're wired. Entertainment, use the word entertainment, it sounds like a business. I'm not trying to make it sound like a business, but that need to communicate, that need to express, that need to just that aha moment and enjoy yourself, have a night out, forget about work, forget about that is so much and more in demand now. I mean, streaming will always be part of it now. It was growing even before the pandemic. Of course, it got a quantum boost now with many things. Like Zoom, many people didn't know what Zoom was before the pandemic.
Right.
But it's always going to be part of entertainment now. But there's still always that interaction that's important, whether it be in person or somehow, or merchandise, whatever. That's always going to be an experiential part of it now. And I think it's all it's all coming. And as this year progresses, definitely by next year, there's going to be another tidal wave as things really become much more normalcy sets in.
I totally agree.
Absolutely. You're watching If These Walls Could Talk with your hosts, Wendy Stuart and Tym Moss, and our amazing, amazing guest, Soho Johnny. Yay! Yeah. Now, Angela Joseph just posted.
Hi.
She just posted, "Thank you, Soho Johnny, Wendy, and Tim, for all you do for the communities.
Aw.
You are all angels in my book," which is very, very nice. Very nice to hear. Yeah, I think there are a lot of angels walking around on this planet.
Yeah.
We just have to kind of tune into them and try to emulate them and be the best person that we can be. Now, before we close out, which again, thank you so much. I love having you on, and I've got so much more I want to talk to you about. So we're going to have you back on again another time. But
hopefully we'll have the party before all that happens. See you under the tent.
But
we have an email list for those that want to stay in touch, sohojohnny.com.
I was just going to say, how can people find out more about you?
And letmehelpinc.org for the charity. And of course, Soho Johnny LLC on Facebook and Instagram and all the usual suspects. But let me again say this to both of you. I want to thank you for keeping the light on too, for even by just having this show. It's exactly what you're talking about, Tim. It's kind of keeping people in better spirits, and here we are laughing on here, and thank God for this connectivity of streaming.
Right?
Absolutely. They didn't have it 100 years ago with the Spanish flu, right? That was much tougher.
We got to be grateful for this. Oh, I know what I wanted to ask you. When you go to your website, you've got a thing that says live chat with Soho Johnny. Now, I was like, let me just see if this works. Have you had people come on and just do that, out of left field, hey dude, how are you?
Well, we have our tech people that have that, and if something is arranged, then of course I'll make myself available, just timing permitted, if need be. And we've got some meet and greets that we're going to be starting probably in weeks or whatever, maybe in a couple of weeks, a couple of months, some meet and greets that we're going to be doing with artists, myself and everything. We'll be doing that. And just to answer your question you mentioned before about other things, we're coming closer. It looks like I'm going to be hosting a show called Soho at Night.
Nice.
I'll be hosting a show. It's probably going to be based in Soho with different artists and different things down there and all the history down there. And we'll see. That's also in the works, becoming more imminent. And let me see. Things continue to come, and things go through my desk and everything, and different ventures come. And usually it's, we always look for that aha. That kind of, you look for that secret sauce, as I said, that's going to really connect with people and what's fun, and of course, what's going to be successful, and of course, try to put a little philanthropy in it that's going to give. But part of what we always do, now that we have Let Me Help, we'll have a piece of it in some manner, shape, and form, and we work with it.
Well, I just want to say thank you very much, Soho Johnny, for all you do all year round. And you're really changing people's lives for the better in so many different ways, and we're very grateful for you and all you do.
And you are the wind beneath many people's wings, and thank you for that.
Thank you. And again, I owe most of this all to people that support me, that are around me. I owe them the thanks. I mean, I'll take it on their behalf, but it's really, really, really them. I mean, the breadth of love is spoken in the music, in the language of musical expression, as I say in my site. Music is the tie that binds us all. Entertainment, and that's important to have. I think music is a companion. For me, it's been a companion my whole life, to take me through different things, and it's my time machine to remember how I felt with my first kiss and my first disaster, whatever music was. Isn't it funny how you could listen to a song and all of a sudden you're feeling like you're still exactly back there, whether it be 20 years ago, 30 years. Isn't it amazing?
The song, you remember that one? The first time ever I saw you. Who did that song?
Roberta Flack.
Where was Roberta Flack, right? I remember I had broken up with my boyfriend in like junior high or something, and I remember I'm crying. And that song is to this day resonates with me. What about you?
The music is about the only medium that can do that, because it hits so many different senses. Yeah. Like I will hear a song and I'll be like, oh my God, that I used to dance to that song at La Escuelita back in the 80s. You know, I mean, I music is about the only medium I can think of that can really transport you to a place, a time, a smell. Like you can smell the club. You can, and music is one of the few mediums that has the ability to do that.
Transcends everything.
I saw pictures that, you know, of course, when my mom died, she had some pictures, and I see myself like I must have been, maybe it was my first communion or something. I was probably second, third grade, and I see myself posing and doing this in front of a picture, like here I am performing. And it's like, you know, when I'm on my shows, I can't help. I'm animated, I'm singing, I'm producing, singing, I'm doing whatever I'm doing anyway. You can't help myself. I'm saying, you know, as we mentioned early in the show, you know, you kind of rediscover who the person that you were back in those days as you get older, and you reflect upon really, you know, what was really going on inside ourselves.
Yeah.
So again, thank you both for having me on the show. Really from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you, our audience, for coming today.
We do appreciate it. And thank you very much, Soho Johnny. Please tune back in next week and on Wednesday at 2 p.m. for Wendy Stuart and Tym Moss on If These Walls Could Talk.
Yeah.
Thanks, Soho Johnny. We absolutely love and adore you. Mwah, 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 mwah.